Hello everyone, in this video I wanted to cover point of control liquidity or POC liquidity. So just really to get along with things to begin with, what is POC liquidity? Well, you're probably familiar already with looking at liquidity and references towards highs and lows on the chart. So just going over to TradingView, liquidity and references towards highs and lows on the chart would be, for example, looking at, direct highs and lows, liquidity. Whereas POCs is actually gathering where the most volume is and then basing liquidity based upon that volume-based kind of liquidity in that sense as to where larger positions are going to be placed. So I've made this template here, and we're going to be referencing towards this middle one, but I'll show you how I use it. This is the clearest way to show you. But the settings I use are the 30-minute, 50-tick, and we're going to be looking at the 1-tick point of controls. So if we were to dive into each candle represent, has a tick size. But the point of, tick size doesn't matter because the point of controls that are extending right now, they're all based upon 1-tick POCs. Okay. And as you can see, these point of controls where you have, for example, in a similar way, where you have consecutive higher lows or lower highs that form resting liquidity, you've got a very similar thing here in relation to POCs before a gap in price action. It's what actually allowed me to take a call that I posted on Twitter a few days ago, in reference towards this low, why it was so significant. At the time, no one really knew about this because I just posted a thread on this that very day later on. But you can see here you've got two lows on the chart, and beneath the, you've got, well, not two lows, two actual point of controls in this case on the chart before a gap in price action. And this gap in price action is, okay, you want to take these two out and then you can see a move, because if it starts to see acceptance below these two lows, then we're going to be seeing this. Why POCs? POCs is where the most volume occurs. It's where people are going to be defending positions necessarily, but also it's where the market can actually wipe out the largest players, especially on 1-tick. You're looking at direct orders in that case rather than like aggregated groups of orders. I do apologize, this is a little bit complex in that case, but we are going to be looking at, this is order flow in this sense. So I'm looking at this case for these orders to be wiped out before moving in the opposite direction. And that's what the market wants to do. It wants to wipe out, the largest possible orders or the most amount of people forcing move in the opposite direction. That is what fuels reversals. And in conjunction with that, in this case, on the same day, you had a lot of people shorting into this, which allowed it for even larger fuel to the upside in that case. But it does work very well. Even today, I was able to take a long off this because you've got, this is your last POC within this candle before a gap in price, gap in swing lows here. There's absolutely nothing below this point here, and you're going to be seeing a larger move down towards downside. So this is really significant to be looking at, especially for me to be going through my morning routine and going, are there any really key levels I want to be looking for? In this case, there was, because you just had these two here, but it works very, very well, in terms of forming a POI for the day. I'm always using this, and the idea is to basically trap those people that aren't looking for this. Most people would just say it bounced because of XYZ. But for me, this is an extremely valuable way to be looking for that liquidity to be taken in the market before seeing a reversal in the opposite direction. Okay. So again, I was going to show you this. So this is obviously the concept. To actually access this, what you'd want to do is go to POC, POC settings, and then you can dive into all of this here within XO charts. Okay. And you can actually make sure this is checked off so that, the POCs only use the raw tick, and it's not affected by your actual tick size on the chart. This is my template that I've been using, really with it. Looks a bit clustered now. We can obviously simplify it down a lot just by doing this. Same thing, bar chart with the POCs within there. However, I like to have the TPO on, as I can see a lot of other levels in reference towards it. So even in particular yesterday, so I've taken a lot of trades off of this recently. Even particularly yesterday, you came into this New York sessions tail itself, New York sessions tail, where you don't want to see acceptance, and your first point of resistance is this point of control here. Okay, price rejects from there, and it sees a reaction. Now, my point here is, I don't want you to be going out now and start trading every single one of these possible, where you go, this is a POC, this is a POC, I'm going to be trading this and this and this. No, I don't want that to be occurring. Because not every single one's going to give a reaction. I come at this from the beginning of the day and I go, look at this in this exact same way. I'll talk you through this. I'm not really awake through Asia, more so beginning of London session. I wake up and I see a few things. There was a potential short trade on top of this. It never breached it. But the first thing I noticed, for example, is a poor high on the top of this, poor low on the bottom of these. So we're in for a very nice possible New York session if it's able to see these local ones taken, so then it could then target this poor high for the day. Really important to note that you have a direct, you can use stats to form a directional bias, but it's part of your routine and plan. I'm not just going and randomly going, I'm going to trade this, this, and this. This is my plan to trade these levels, to target these ones based upon the stats I have, that poor highs, especially with an Asia session, will be tested within X amount of period of time. Okay, really, really important this. But I honestly, I haven't been, this is the thing, I don't gather this information off anyone else. So it's really based on what I've been testing through this in terms of forming my POIs. This is really discretionary. What you do when it gets to the level is down to the order flow side of things. I don't feel comfortable really at the moment sharing what I do at a level of execution. Obviously you do have what I've been going through in relation to trap value areas, liquidations, trap traders, that whole saga, and that is 100% valid to still be using. Okay, and I definitely would be using that at these levels. There are obviously other things that I'd recommend you go out and start testing. Okay, finding different execution methods, but these are not just places where you want to be placing limit orders. They can be, honestly, but sometimes they just get ripped through. You've got two here, these two green lines here. If we just turn this off, two green lines here, these are the POCs. They actually just rip through. You don't want to be setting limit orders at these. You have to be monitoring the reaction. And in most cases as well, like I didn't mention this about this one down here, which was like almost a very perfect one, is that when you have a swing low in confluent, or resting series of lows or resting series of highs that I've covered previously in confluence with a pivot level. So going back to trading view quickly, okay, if we just take these off, and I mark these down as like volume based liquidity levels, right? What you have here, if we take this off into white, this is your liquidity before your last 15-minute swing pivot, before the overall low. And then also at the same day you had this was your naked point of control, so you're taking out 2 in 1 with a directional bias on that day being the Asia high being taken. It was I didn't take any profit on this one until the overall high was taken. The overall idea isn't to talk through this one trade example, because I'm trading this a lot. Even today, very similar fashion, last one before a gap. No one's really looking at, I would say this exact level, but they seem to be working extremely well for me in terms of forming my POIs for the day. And I must stress that they're not looking for executions. I must apologize for not uploading lately. The weekly live streams will be back coming from Monday. So I believe that is Monday, the 5th of February, I believe, around that time. But this coming Monday, I'll announce all the times and stuff on Twitter. But I hope you found this powerful. Again, if you do want this template, so if you want this template, by the way, you can actually just go over to my website, luxury.trade, and you got all the templates there to completely go through this, download it, and import it into your Excel chart. So hopefully you found this valuable. I appreciate you all. Thank you.